In 1979, Mattel launched the Intellivision, a second-generation home video game console which would prove to be very popular, selling over 3 million units and eventually featuring over 125 games. Like many home consoles, various peripherals were released. An important one for today's video game first arrived in 1982 in the form of the Intellivoice voice synthesis module. Retailing at around $100, this large brown cartridge that plugged into the Intellivision's side-mounted cartridge slot utilized a voice synthesizer to generate speech. Games that had been specifically designed for the device could then be inserted into a slot provided on the right-hand side of the module. The first release for the Intellivoice was a game called Space Barnes, which holds the honor of being the very first console game to feature a real human voice. Here's what it sounds like.
Bell Electronics presents Space Spartans.
Hello, Commander. Computer reporting. Tracking computer off.
Space Barnes is essentially a clone of Atari's 1979 Star Raiders. The objective is to outlast an alien onslaught for as long as possible. Defeat is inevitable, so victory terms are defined as how long a player can last through any one game and how effective they are at destroying an alien ships and starbases. The words digitalized in Space Barnes were done so at the lowest possible sampling rate at which they could still be understood, and it wasn't unusual for the sampling rate to be changed 3 or 4 times within the same word, lower rates for vowels and higher for consonants to save space. This tended to give the voice distinctly mechanical and unnatural sound. Despite this low sampling rate, the digitalized voice data still required a great deal of ROM space, more than the game itself took. This required a larger ROM than a standard Intellivision release, which was much more expensive to produce. This meant that Space Barnes and the subsequent Intellivoice supporting titles ended up retailing higher than a standard Intellivision game. While standard non-voice titles typically costed around $39.95, it then quickly dropped to around $20 to $25 as new titles were released. Intellivoice titles sometimes retailed for as much as $45 a piece and were much slower to drop in price. Along with Space Barnes, 2 other Intellivoice titles were released in 1982, Bomb Squad and B-17 Bomber. However, despite critical acclaim, the Intellivoice did not sell nearly as well as Mattel had hoped. While initial orders were as high as 300,000 units for the module and its associated games, most of them just sat on retailer shelves. Even a promotional giveaway of a free Intellivoice by mail with the purchase of an Intellivision Master component failed to kickstart sales of the Intellivoice game titles. After one more release, Tron Solar Sailor, the Intellivoice was discontinued in less than a year with only 5 games released for the device. Despite having poor sales, the Intellivoice is considered to be an important piece of gaming innovation that used speech as an important gameplay element which inspired future consoles to do the same thing. As always, thanks for watching.